next 45 minutes, do I have something that's going to help you grow your business, increase your profitability, encourage your teams to be even more productive, reduce your stress, and plan for your long-term business wild success? Does that sound pretty good? Okay, so we're getting to it. We had some time on the break. Maybe we had some coffee. I love coyote because every time I see this, it makes me want to howl. How about y'all? I know you did a little bit last night at the reception. You want to do it with me? Aroo! That was pretty good. Let's try it on this side of the room. Aroo! Isn't it great to get the pack back together? It just is. All right, let's get started on some succession planning right away. Before we even start, I want to give you free stuff. How do you feel about free stuff? There's a little howling on that too. Great. So you're going to text the word dog. Many of you did not bring your computers today. That is perfectly great. But most of you do have your cell phones. With your cell phones, if you want to text the word dog, one dog, not two, not a cat. Where are my cat people? Cat people, where are you? Yeah, I got nothing for you anyway. It's fine. It's perfectly great. For you dog people, you're just going to text the word dog, D-O-G, to the phone number 66866. Now, some of my international friends, that doesn't work for you so well, so you're just going to email me later or I'll give you the direct link. But I want to make sure right away that you all get all the free stuff. Now, this program for the next 45 minutes is on how to build your business and how to do succession planning as part of your business's strategic planning. We all know that we need to do this, and before I get to the how to do this, this is the whys we need to do this. We have to make sure that we look at our business for the longevity of the business. We want to make sure that we're creating a strategy that goes beyond our own dealership. We want to make sure that we're clarifying the roles and responsibilities for everyone throughout our entire organization. As Dr. Anthony was talking about in economics, there's an economic theory, and it's called the theory of efficiency wages. The theory of efficiency wages says you hire the best people possible, and you pay them as much as you possibly can to keep them. And that is what a lot of you are experiencing right now. We've got some other economic theories that we're going to refer back to in this succession planning program. I know it sounds like a lot of economics first thing in the morning, but we need to make sure that as we clarify roles and responsibilities, that we don't have overlap for a couple reasons. First, it's harder to hold people accountable if more than one person is doing the same job. For example, there's another theory that actually explains why in many businesses, maybe in your place of business, your microwave and your refrigerator are all gross. And that theory says that if everyone owns something, then nobody takes responsibility for doing it. And you've seen this. If everybody owns all the fish in the oceans, sometimes we have overfishing. If everybody owns the microwave, then nobody cleans it because we either think it's not my job, somebody else will magically do it, or, well, we don't have to worry about it because it's not ours. We want people to take ownership. The best way to do that is to clarify roles and responsibilities throughout your organization. We also want to make sure in succession planning as part of strategic planning that when people decide to change jobs or increase their roles and responsibilities, or maybe move on to another organization, that there's a smooth transition. And let's face it, it is not always a smooth transition. And if you've got other members of maybe your family or board of directors or maybe even shareholders involved in your business, you want to make sure that they've got the confidence moving forward, knowing what it is you know, and that there will always be smooth transitions regardless of what happens next. Now, as leaders, we have to see what's coming. We have to see what's below the iceberg. We have to see what other people don't see. And that is what makes us successful. So in our businesses today, we have to wonder, how are our businesses affected by world events? And Anthony gave us some great insights on what we need to pay attention to right now. But it also begs the question, what are my people concerned about? And does my strategic plan include some strategic planning so that if something does happen to me, now let's face it, it's not so much a if something happens to me, it's when. I know it's a little harsh reality, but none of us are going to be here forever. And we've got to plan on longevity, long-term success. So in that vein, what we want to do is make sure we know realistically some people are going to change jobs. How many of you are part of a family business? I can see you. Okay, good. For many of you in a family business, you hope that future generations will take on your business and love it and care for it and cherish it like you do. But what if they don't? You've got to prepare the entire team so that just one person doesn't mean the future success or failure of your business. And we've got to make sure everyone on the team knows what they have to do to be successful. They have to know what we know as much as possible about the business so that they can move forward even during those times that we're not around. Now, for many of our people, they're concerned about, of course, the coronavirus. They were worried about Delta until this weekend, and now we've got the Omicron virus and all of that, which is alarming, except we had Delta, we had Alpha, we had 3 others we were concerned about before this, and about another 1,132 variants of this virus. This is another variant. And we as leaders have to look at the risks, mitigate the risks, and figure out what to do next. And part of that is making sure that our people are reassured by what we need to reassure them with so that they can show up to work and be productive. Now, many of you should be worried about cybersecurity. If you're not planning on when you get hacked, I think you should consider those possibilities too. It's not a great possibility. It's terrifying. Ransomware, identity theft, and being hacked is all a very real part of running a business now and moving into the future. Cybersecurity issues. Now, you've also heard this morning about the Great Resignation, and yes, sir, those are 2 fingers, not just 1, 2 fingers. I saw you counting. The Great Resignation. How do we turn the fact that almost 20 million Americans have voluntarily left their jobs since April of this year? How do we turn that statistic into something positive? How do we make the great attrition into the great attraction? Now, the good news is we've got now 20 million people who were not available for work last April. And now they could be potentially part of our organizations. This is how we turn this around. Anthony talked about the unemployment level that's now at about 5.3%. Before COVID started, it was at 3.5%. We're still a little high. My concern on the unemployment scale is actually the labor force participation rate. So let me explain what that is for just a second. The labor force participation rate measures the number of people who are able to work, who are in the workforce. And the definition is if you're between the ages of about 16 and 65, not a full-time student, not a full-time homemaker, not in the military, and not in prison, you are considered a potential part of the labor force. Then if you are willing to work, able to work, or actively looking for a job or working, you are part of that labor force. Now here's my concern. Our millennials are underrepresented right now in the labor force. We need more millennials to be out there working. As the largest percentage of a population right now who could be in the workforce, they are underrepresented in the United States as those people actually working. Now, remember, the government doesn't care if you work full-time or part-time. We measure our employment the same. So they're underemployed, which means they're available to be hired. For much of the Great Resignation, we should have been prepared for this. Our baby boomers are turning 65 and have been for the last 3 years at the rate of about 10,000 a day. We should be prepared for this. And some of you, if you're in your business and maybe you fall into that baby boomer category, you might be wondering some of these questions. But then you look around and you think, well, I can't turn my business over yet because my team's not ready. I don't have people who are as dedicated as I am. I built this business. I don't want to trust it to someone else. Sound familiar? But I want you to think about the fact that this talent pool is now suddenly available. Before COVID hit, the biggest incursion back into the workforce were the teams, the people in the over 5 communities. We're coming back into the workforce. So this can be an opportunity if we see it. The demographic shifts are a reality. So I just need to share a few things with y'all. I taught school for about 35 years. I taught the Air Force Academy, I taught the Naval Academy, I taught at Hawaii Pacific University, I taught at Colorado State in the grad program. So all you people in the back row, by the way, I just want to let you know something. When I look at you and you look down, I can still see you. I can still see you right there. That was hilarious, people. That was funny stuff. I'm just letting you know. All right. So we know that for all you folks in the back row, because these empty tables up here are a little bit alarming, I'm going to go for a little bit of a walk here throughout the audience. I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want to alarm anybody. So let me ask, how many of y'all self-identify as baby boomers? Where are you, baby boomers? Woohoo! How many of you, if you are self-identified baby boomers, are thinking about when you want to retire? Good. How many of you say you will never, ever retire? Yes, you're the same people I interviewed last week, and I asked some of you, I said, what's it going to take for you to retire? And you know what some of you said? I'm never going to retire. They're just going to find my body on a Monday morning. That's not very nice to the janitorial staff. But for many of us baby boomers, we get our identity from work. We get our sense of purpose by getting up and influencing the world to do better every single day. Good for us. Now, where are my millennials? Well, come on, millennials. I love my millennials. Be proud. Be strong. Be proud. Yes, there you go. All right, millennials, just say yes with me if you agree with me. Millennials, are you tired of people saying that you don't have a work ethic? Are you tired of people saying that you're not out there in the workforce like you should? Are you tired of people saying that you're entitled? They're not so sure about that one. We want to be entitled, darn it. Alrighty, and where are my Gen Xers? Gen Xers, I'm a Gen Xer too, and you know what? Nobody cares about us. Nobody cares. We're completely ignored. Nobody cares. Now, here's what's going on when we look at what's happening in the workforce. Our baby boomers, many of them, they kind of don't know what to do when they retire. They're not sure. It is filling them with a sense of, I'm not real interested. Because whatever they're thinking about doing isn't as exciting as what you get to do as a dealer. For the millennials, some of you are looking to take over the business, but you're not so sure about the career path to get there. And some of you millennials are looking at some of the boomers going, y'all need to learn to fish and golf. Welcome to Florida. How many of y'all could just stay here? That implies retirement, people. That implies retirement. All righty then. And then some people are a little bit worried about their lack of finances in order to retire. But what the Great Resignation, the Great Attrition has done is allowed us to look at our 401ks, our SEP plans, our IRAs, and figure out when can we retire? When can we plan our exit strategy? Now, a couple things. If you're not actively looking at building your leadership bench right now, now may be a really good time. You're already an awesome leader or you wouldn't be here. So what steps can we take to plan for future leadership? So I'd like to encourage you to think about creating your 2022 vision. I think there's 4 steps in you creating your 2022 vision. It starts with the people side, and this is what we're going to focus on mostly today. I was in the military, and I love acronyms, so I use an acronym for this. Where are my other military people, by the way? Other military people? Good. Oh, yeah, there you go, there you go. Well, let's go back down here again. All right, good. Where are my Army people? Army people, where are you? Army people. There's got to be some. There's one Army person. That's all I got. All right, one Army person. Thank you. Oh, there's two. There's two. Okay, great. Sir, what'd you do? Be loud and proud. Logistics. Other Army guy, what'd you do? Be loud and proud. Accounting. Okay, good. All right, fantastic. Good. And where are my Air Force people? Air Force person. Okay, what'd you do, sir? Logistics, okay, he knows how to move stuff. Yes, sir. Avionics, he knows how to fix things. That's handy now, isn't it? Good. Yes, right over here. Yes, what'd you do? Civil engineering. The civil engineers, by the way, they know how to build things, also blow them up. It's a jobs program. Yep, okay, good. Fantastic, good. Any other Air Force people? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Any other Navy people? Navy people? Navy people? Okay. Any Marines? Oh, I love me some Marines. Yes, sir, in the back. What'd you do? What? Okay, what'd you do? Infantry. So are you armed right now? Don't answer that, that's fine. Yep, right over here. Yes, sir. What'd you do? What's your MOS? Military police. He has guns and handcuffs. That's a good job right there. That's a good job. I don't care who you are. Good. Any other Marines? Right up here? What'd you do, sir? Communications. Is that helpful for you now? All right, that's really good. All right, beautiful. So anybody else? Any National Guardsmen? Anybody else? That's beautiful. All righty then. My husband's a Force Recon guy, so I really appreciate my Marines, and thank you so much. On the people side, I use the acronym, this is just for you, sir, military police. It's called ARMED. How to attract, recruit, retain, mentor, manage, evolve, and develop your current and next generation of leaders. That means taking an interest in your people's development now. Up here on the technology and tools, it's the advancements, the innovations, it's the things that you're doing right now to make the best possible use of your scarce resources. If we know moving into the future that we're going to have a labor shortage for the next few years, we've got to be smarter about how we use our people. We've got to be utilizing technology whenever possible, when it works. And as leaders, in the bottom right-hand side, we have to manage uncertainty. That's one of our biggest jobs as leaders right now. For those of you who have dogs, where are my dog people? Dog people, where are you? Come on, dog people. Good. This is what I call pat, head, hold, paw. This is the reassurance part. Pat, head, hold, paw. If you're going to manage the uncertainty, you have to look at the fact that we might have some economic burbles along the way. We might have to manage some risks. We might have to manage our consumers' confidence in whether or not we are able to do what we say we're going to do. We have to look really hard at managing what our employees need and want from their job and working with us. And we've got to grow our business. Folks, in the past few years, especially in the United States, there has been a bit of a movement to demonize profitability in the workforce. Folks, I need to tell you, if you're not making a profit, it's not a business. It's not. It's a hobby, and it might be a good hobby, but I need you to make a profit. I need you to do so well with your business that you can pay your people well, you can pay yourself well, you can provide for your family, you can help out your community, you can be an active participant to make a difference in the world. And along the way, well, you find the meaning of life. Adam, that was just for you. We've got to strategize on our business to make sure that we are doing such a great job that we are wildly successful moving into the future. And this means we see opportunities, we define the opportunities, but that doesn't mean being opportunistic. It means looking at the workplace, looking at the market, and figuring out, how can I help other people? How can I help people achieve their goals? What does that look like? And what does the market need from me? It's finding the opportunities that are out there. Because folks, during times of great crisis, challenge, or change, that's when they need us more than ever. And many of you, and I was talking to some of you last night at the reception and today, and many of you have differentiated products and services. But some of you are struggling to convey that to your customers. So I've got a few ideas for you on that. I'll just tell you that in the military, whenever we do something more than once or twice, we make checklists for it because it's part of our succession planning. We don't know if we're going to be the ones working through that particular checklist in the future. And we want to make sure that future folks are successful. So we make a checklist. I do this for my business processes. So I have a 5-minute marketing plan. It's one page, and it helps you define some ideas that you might want to think about to discover some opportunities in your business. Now, when I talk about these 5-minute plans, I have about 80 of them. I have curated the best 15 of them, and I put them together into an online vault that is just for you folks here today with Coyote. And you're going to get all of that when you text that number, as well as you can go directly to the site to get this. But there's about 15 business strategy and growth plans on things like creating a vision plan, creating a business plan, creating a sales plan, creating a marketing plan, delighting your customers, being productive with your time, all kinds of things. The program I'm working with you on today is usually about an 8-hour program, and I have just the 45 minutes. So I'm going to let you know that these resources are there for you. I'm going to highlight some things that I think are most helpful, and then I will be happy to walk you through some of these afterwards. And this afternoon, if you want to grab me, I'll be more than happy to share these with you. On the succession planning side, many people say, oh gosh, the succession planning only affects the president or the founder or the CEO of the company. And that's not really true. Now, for some of you, especially if you are a solopreneur or a family business, some of these hats you wear, well, more than one of them. Maybe you are the CEO and you're the entire C-suite leader. That could be true. Maybe you're the person who has to lead the transition team. Maybe you're the person who has to matriculate your high potential employees. But folks, if you've got employees working with you, you have to make sure that they understand where they can go when working with your organization. And that means giving them increased roles and responsibilities and letting them know that you have faith and confidence in their ability so that they feel confident stepping into those roles. Now, some of you have boards of directors, maybe you have a mastermind, someone like that. Your succession planning affects their role as well. And if you've got suppliers or partners or vendors, they want to know what your succession plan is too. What if something happens to you? What if you get sick? What if you can't work? What if? What's the next step? What's the plan? And your customers, your clients, they want to know. When I was a brand new baby ensign, I just graduated from the Naval Academy, and I went to one of my history professors who seemed like he knew things about the world. And I said, hey, sir, I think that now that I'm an ensign, I need to be thinking about finances, and I would like to be better at finances. And I need to share with you, I graduated with a degree in naval engineering. I'm a terrible engineer. I'm a terrible engineer. We did do that whole idea, like the joke this morning about how, ships are made, it's riveting. Yeah, so all that, good job you, by the way. I understand the mass and the gravity and the buoyancy and all that with building a ship, but I also know when I put a paper clip in a glass of water, it sinks. So I'm still fascinated by the fact that we can take these multi-ton ships and put them in the ocean and they float. So I'm a pretty terrible engineer. I had to make up for my lack of ability in my engineering classes by taking history classes and economics classes. Thus my conversation with this person. And I said, sir, I would like to know what I should be doing with my finances. He said, oh, don't worry, I'll make you an appointment with my personal finance advisor guy. I said, great. So I go over to this guy and I said, what do I do? And he said, well, you need, I didn't know any of this. This was back in the 80s. IRAs had just been invented. Mutual funds had just been invented. There weren't all the investment tools that we have right now. And he said, well, I'll get you set up with an IRA and we'll get you set up with all these investments and all this. And I said, this is fantastic. Now the guy's name was Hank. Super good guy. Spent a good hour of his life educating me. Very patient. I was getting ready to go to the Philippines for a couple years. I didn't know where I was going to go after that, and I wanted someone I could trust, someone I could call, and someone I could just send money to every month, and they would do a good job of investing it for me. He was about 60 years old. And I said, this all sounds fantastic. I said, Hank, so I'm going to go to the Philippines. What happens to my accounts if somehow something happens to you? I mean, I didn't want to point out, you're 60, maybe 65 years old, anything could happen. And he said, oh, don't worry. He said, I think my son might take over the business. What? I said, might? Well, who do I call if something happens to you? You have to remember, this was before cell phones. And he said, I'm sure someone will be here to answer the phone. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, what kind of degree of certainty did that have? 1, 2. I didn't invest my money with him because he did not have a succession plan. I was that customer and he couldn't tell me what was going to happen next. So folks, I need to convey to you, it's not just the CEO, it is everybody. It is current corporate executives. And if you're with Coyote or part of a large organization, if you're thinking about retiring anytime in the next 10 years, you have to be thinking about who comes next. If you're thinking about maybe moving to another organization, or your people might be moving to another organization, this could create talent holes in your organization. We worry about who's going to fill critical positions. And some people say, I would like to leave and go on and do something else. Maybe I want to work for a nonprofit. I want to have that meaning in my life that creates that sense of influence I want. But I don't feel confident doing that without somebody coming behind me. Business owners and investors also need to be thinking about strategic planning and succession planning, because maybe they think, well, maybe I want to go on and do another business. Maybe I don't have a clear successor. I thought maybe my son or my daughter or my niece or my nephew might take over the business, but it turns out they're terrible at this. They don't know the front end or the back end of a backhoe. That's a problem. So what do? Many family businesses count on their children or some family member to take over, and sometimes that is not the best fit. And sometimes that can be a very, very difficult conversation. We've got Joel and Josh or Jason or Joel or Jewel or whoever the J words are over here. You got 5 to choose from, man. That was good planning right there. I'm just saying that was good planning right there. And there's 2 here, so I'm thinking, all right. And so many people want to turn over the business, but they just don't know who or how. Some of you are part of boards, or you've got board members, and they want to know what your plan is for the future as well. Some board members are also looking, and especially in family businesses, they maybe look at your children a little bit differently than you do. And sometimes they're right. It's something they consider. And some of our senior leaders also want to move up in organizations, and they need to know if they're not going to advance, what do they need to do to enhance their skills so they can advance? And if you've got a number 2, and they're never going to be the number 1, and they're counting on the number 1, you owe it to them to have that honest conversation and say, you know what, Sally, Sarah, Jack, James, Joe, it's not going to be you. And if you're okay by being the number 2, that's great. But you're just never going to be the right fit for the CEO position or the presidency or running this business. You owe it to them to have that honest conversation. I'm a big fan of making sure that our young professionals are properly trained and matriculated so that they can move forward in the workplace as well. We've got a lot of young people, folks, and they have become a little bit discouraged in the workforce because they don't see that plan. They do think the baby boomers, something's going to have to happen so that they get out of the workforce somehow. And they're like, oh, now we got to wait on the Gen X-ers to figure that out. They deserve an honest conversation about where you see them fitting into the organization. And they want that plan for professional growth. Now, yesterday, some of you saw that Jack Dorsey, the head of Twitter and Square, resigned. Now, here's what was interesting. As soon as he announced his resignation, stocks went up. Stocks actually went up. The uncertainty of Twitter went down, knowing that he would be gone. Why? Because his CTO was named as a successor very quickly, and people have a high degree of confidence in the CTO. And they also think, okay, now we've got somebody who's going to be full-time on Twitter, not splitting their time between Twitter and Square. Stocks went up. Would the same be true of your organization if something happened to you and you suddenly left? Is your departure from the organization planned? Now, I want to take you through very quickly the 6 stages of any crisis, challenge, or change, because we've certainly had a lot of crisis, challenge, and change over the last 2 years. But we've always had crisis, challenge, and change. So it doesn't really matter if it's a leadership change in your organization, if it's a new market that you're expanding into, if it's a global pandemic, or any other challenge. We go through 6 stages many times. Now, here's why I want you to understand this. Because you went through the 6 stages, we probably got to stage 6 really quickly. But some of your team members might still be struggling in stages 1 through 4. Now, stages 1 through 4 tend to be very myopic, very much focused on me. My house, my job, my kids, my homeschooling, my work from home, my business, my world. Very myopic, very much circle the wagons, protect the people inside that inner circle. As leaders, you went through those first 4 stages really fast, got to stage 5, which is the new reality, and then you asked the realignment questions that allowed you to move forward and grow your businesses when other people were struggling. So the first stage is the rejection stage. And again, if I can't use an acronym, I make everything start with the same letter so it's easy to remember. The rejection stage, where we say, okay, it's not that bad. It's a new software update. It's parts that didn't come in. Maybe that's a challenge. Maybe it's, one of our clients suddenly declared bankruptcy and they can't pay their, whatever that is. We immediately go to, it's not that bad. It won't really affect me that much. It'll be okay. The rejection stage. Then we get to the recognition stage, where we recognize it for what it is. For some people, some of your friends perhaps, that was, okay, I can work from home. I'll save money on commuting. I can work in sweatpants or yoga pants or short pants or whatever that looks like. And that whole idea of, I'll have more time with family sounds fantastic until you have more time with family. And all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I need to go to the office. How many of you have had that secret thought? I need to go to the office. Yes. And we figured out how to do Zoom calls with the dog on our lap and juggling things in our house. And we figured out how to have new office managers, while cute, not that productive. And we figured this out. And this got us into the realization stage, where we figured out in this global crisis of the pandemic, it's going to last for months and years, and in fact, until we die, and hopefully not soon. And that our people need more reassurances from us, and that we've got to step up our leadership, both at home and at work. And maybe we need different technology. And maybe we've got to reconfigure parts of our schedule and parts of our life, because we've got to handle this. This is the realization phase. This isn't something short term. And then we get into the resolution phase. We can do it. We're in this together. Let's support each other. Now, folks, a lot of your people cycle through those first 4 stages every morning with their coffee. Oh no, we're still doing this. Okay, all right, it's going to be okay. We can do this together. All right, I got to step it up. They just cycle through those. And some of you struggle with this because you went through this really fast and you're like, got it, got it, got it. Let's get to it. And you did. You got to that new reality phase where you said, look, it's always going to be more difficult to bring people together. We're going to have to deal with thousands of details moving into the future. We're going to have to contend with labor shortages and supply chain shortages for a while. Got it. And then you went into the strategic planning aspect, and these are the things you probably thought. What can I do to better support my people, my customers, my suppliers, my people, my teams? What do I need to do? And how can I work cooperatively with the competition? And this is why I love this dealers program, because technically a lot of you all are competitors, and yet here you are working together. How do you work cooperatively? So I want to give you a challenge just for a second. How many of you think, just by show of hands, how many of you think there's some pretty darn smart people in this room? Where are you? Smart people? Good. No smart people? Some people are like, I'm not raising my hand. What if she looks at me? I know. Now here's a challenge. If somebody else in this room wanted to grow their business, would you help them? Okay, so I'm looking for a yes there, kind of like an amen in church. So if somebody else in this room wanted to grow their business and they called you and asked for help, what would you say? Would every single person in this room take a phone call from a competitor? That's beautiful, isn't it? That's beautiful. I want to encourage you to do that. Within 30 days of this conference, I want to encourage you to pick up the phone and call someone else and ask them for advice or help, because this is how we grow. We want to ask those people, how do we improve our processes? What do we need to do differently moving forward? How has this been changing your leadership? What else do you need to do? How does this change your organizational structure? How do we allocate our resources and help our people manage change? And how do we need to create and develop processes and procedures and policies that help us move our business forward? And what do you do? And do you have this part? And can we do a swap? What does this look like? Because we want to respond quickly to the changing needs of our markets. And when possible, with our clients and our customers, we want to say yes. We want to say, yes, I can get that part for you. Even if I'm in Oklahoma and they're in Texas, we're still going to work together. We're going to do this. And how do we stay focused for ourselves, and how do we focus on the future? And we've got to strategically plan this. So in part of the package you're getting today, and it's red, and I'll let you look through the hard copy version of this. This is the workbook part of this. In the hard copy book, the sheets are in the back of the book, but this is a full workbook, and this is what they look like. There's a 5-minute self-leader assessment. And this is if you're thinking about maybe stepping out of the workplace in the next 10 years, just some things to think about. What do I need to do? How does this change my life? What worries me about leaving this company in the hands of someone else? But then what are the benefits as well? The worksheets all look like this. Now, my military folks know this. In the military, we do turnover kind of by design. So think about that for just a second. In the military, when you show up to a job, you're only there for 2 to 3 years. Wait a second. Your entire workforce, think about that for a minute, turns over every 2 to 3 years. 1/3 to 1/2 of your people are gone every single year. So how do you continue with readiness? How do you make sure that people know their jobs? How do you push through to make sure that you can achieve the vision and the mission and the goals? Well, a few things. What you do is you have to constantly be reiterating the vision. The vision is where we're going. You have to train your people constantly to move forward and be successful in the jobs they're doing, but also some other people's jobs as well. And you have to personally plan for your replacement's success. And this is a hard thing to think about when we started the company and grew it from nothing. And we have to share our knowledge. We have to make sure other people know what we know. This is one of the biggest obstacles when I talk to my CEOs. They say, but nobody knows what I know. I'm like, well, teach them. And then do you help people by assigning them mentors? Because when we're out to sea and we're trying to land planes on a carrier deck, it's dangerous. And we have to make sure everybody is trained well to do that. And if you're kicking down doors, this is for you Army and Marine Corps people, you got to make, if the person next to you goes, I don't know exactly what to do with this thing I just got here, not the best response. So rethink the structure of your organization. Figure out what's going to have to change if you lose maybe your comptroller, if you decide to take a 6-week vacation, whatever that looks like. A few things that you can do as well to move into the future is to not hire for the position that's being vacated. Let's say you lose your marketing person. Let's say they were part-time and they decide to go full-time with somebody else. Figure out what the future role of that job would be. Create the avatar. Create the perfect version of them in that job and what they would do moving into the future. And then design an organizational chart that would work for the future, not just something that works for now. And if you had to do that with fewer people, what would you use technology for in order to become more efficient? And please, 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 look hard at your young professionals, your top talent, your developing potential, and go find people you want to work with moving into the future because they want to work there. And keep the people you want to keep. And I know that sounds really basic, but I had a situation where Vicki, she was the vice president, everybody loved her. She'd been at this one firm for about 5 years. She'd been recruited very heavily by some other folks. And I'll call him Joe. Joe was the head of the organization. He had founded the organization. At the time, he was 79 years old, which I think is young. It's getting younger every year. But he had told me privately that he wanted to retire when he turned 80. I said, I think that's fantastic. So I said, well, who's your heir apparent? And he said, it's Vicki. Vicki she knows the business. She comes in under budget, on time. Her people love her. She's a great team player. I said, great. So when are you going to tell Vicki? And he goes, oh, I can't tell her. I said, what do you mean you can't tell her? He said, if I tell her she's going to replace me in a year, he said, you know what she's going to do? She's going to take her foot off the gas pedal. She's going to just kind of slack off and not give me 100%. I said, wait. You're telling me you're going to turn over an $80 million business to Vicki, but you don't actually trust her, and you're not going to help train her in the year before you decide to leave. Do I have this right? And he goes, yeah, pretty much. Okay, here's the problem. I was walking down the hallway later. Who'd I run into? Vicki. I said, Vicki, how are things going? She goes, good. I said, Vicki, you're usually so upbeat. What's going on? She said, well, Mary, I got to tell you. She goes, and you can't tell the boss. She said, I'm getting all these job offers, because a lot of people are resigning. She goes, I'm getting these job offers, and I'm actually thinking about taking them. I guess I've hit kind of a brick wall here. I'm not advancing, so I'm actually interviewing. What do I do? I said, will you please go talk to the boss? She goes, no. She goes, I've tried to talk to him about my career, and he just doesn't want to have that conversation. So I think I'm going to be interviewing. 3 weeks later, she was gone. He calls me and says, now what do I do? Folks, if you've got people and you're grooming them for future roles and responsibilities, please keep them informed. And keep them informed as well if they are not part of that process. So they have a good idea of where they want to go. Be honest with your folks. Part of this is developing the criteria and the competencies that you need in order to move into the future. So create, again, a list of things that you need from your folks. Many of my senior leaders say, you know what I want from my people? I want great leadership, I want great attitude, and I want a great aptitude for what it is we do. Sounds good. You might need a few more things, and it might look like this. You might need business judgment. You might need conflict management skills. You might need crisis management skills. You might need decision-making skills. What about emotional intelligence? What about entrepreneurship? What about financial acumen? What about industry knowledge? What about being able to influence other people, being a good salesperson, having integrity and moral courage, and interpersonal skills, and networking, and strategic thinking, and talent development, and vision? Lots of things. Pick the top 3 things that you want to focus on and work toward that. And if you are a younger person who's thinking about moving forward in the organizations, please position yourself for those increased responsibilities. Find ways to add value. Be a great team player. Focus on the organization's mission, and then actively support your leaders. Now, this is a carrier out at sea. If you were ever on a Navy ship, you may have seen an aircraft carrier. An aircraft carrier, when I was on board, is about the size of 2 football fields long. Now they're 3. And then multiply that by 10 stories, and then throw about 5,000 people on board. Anybody come from a town of about 5,000 people? Good, yeah. Now take all those people, especially the ones you don't like, because that's who you see the most, and slap them on board something the size of a couple football fields. That's it. And in this picture, we've got an unrep happening with a fuel line. We've got a helicopter going back and forth. What you don't see are the Navy submarines that almost always accompany our carrier battle group. And we don't dress people like Skittles, because we go, ooh, that would be fun at sea. Pretty colors. We do it so that from the bridge, we can tell right away, do we have the right people in the right place at the right time? Because that is critical to mission accomplishment. So looking down from the bridge, I can tell I have the right maintainers, I've got the right plane movers, I've got the right fuelers, I've got the right ordnance people, and I've got my ops boss where they need to be. Because launching planes off carrier decks is dangerous. We get up close and personal to jet engines. Anybody here ever work in the medical field or have a spouse in the medical field? Yeah. Did you know we have an insurance code for being sucked into a jet engine? More horrifying than that? That's bad enough. There's an insurance code for being sucked into a jet engine the second time. Now, at that point, we're just kind of standing there watching. We're like, all right, that's just Darwinism, kids. That's just crazy. And you have to remember that the average age on board one of my aircraft carriers in the United States is 19 and a half years old. 19 and a half years old. That is what is out doing this job. And it is dangerous, and it is difficult, and we have to make sure everybody understands their roles and responsibilities. So very quickly, these are some of the resources you're getting today. This is the 12-month business success and accountability planning document. It walks you through every single month how you can hold your team accountable, how you align your mission, vision, and goals to what they need to do. And every month you work through this, and every month they work through this, and then you compare them at the beginning and the end of the month to make sure everybody is aligned. And it asks them for things like, what do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? Who can you contact for help? Who can you call for advice? And again, I want to challenge you. Call someone else in this room within 30 days for advice. Say, hey, I met you at Coyote in Orlando, and I just want to ask you a couple questions. Will you help me? The entire website that we built for you today also has this on there. You get a free ebook on resiliency, another one on being productive. There's the 5-minute promotion plan. There's the succession plan that's right there for you in case you need a quick and easy place to start. And here are all of the red documents that go with us in the Who Comes Next program. And I really hope this helps you just get at the kickstart you need in order to wander through what this looks like. Also on this website, and it's productiveleaders.com/coyote, I've got a slide on this. It also has my predictions for 2021, and then my 22 predictions for 2022, and I hope that helps. So again, very quickly, this is where you go to get all of the really cool resources. Please text the word dog to the number 66866, or for my international friends, just email me at mary@productiveleaders, or just go directly to the site, which is productiveleaders/coyote, and that works too. So folks, my last story is, if you're going to be good at one thing, just be good at communication. All of my siblings and I were in the military. My Air Force sister is on the far left. She married a Navy guy. My older brother's a Marine helicopter pilot. He married a Navy gal. That's me in the center. I married a Marine, and my younger brother was a Navy pilot. And we all communicate with each other in short, choppy sentences. That doesn't work for everybody. It works with us, but it doesn't work with everybody. So if you're going to be good at communication, if you're going to be good at leadership, be great at communication. It's the one thing that will carry you through. And folks, I just need to share with you that I've been now with you for a couple days, and every single time I've had a conversation with someone, you have been kind and generous and amazing. And you're all here to grow your business in the best way possible. And this reminds me of the Hawaiian word called kinaole. And kinaole means do the right thing at the right time to the right person with the right spirit every time. And that is what I think of when I think of you. Folks, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. I'll be around. Take care. Bye-bye.